My name is Adam Goldstein. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Hipmunk. Hipmunk is the simplest and easiest way to find flight and hotel options online. And I decided that in the spirit of a lean startup, I was going to have a lean talk with no slides. So I'm going to tell you a few things about how we do things at Hipmunk. And I'm going to focus on something that might not seem that important, which is the way that we collect feedback from users. Because you'll hear, I'm sure, a lot today and tomorrow and all about lean startups who talk to consumers in person, who get feedback by email or by telephone. We do all of those things. But we have one secret weapon that I encourage all of you to use, and that is the live chat feature on our site. Now, I'm glad that we made the decision to launch the site with this feature because it was a very marginal one. But a day or two before we launched, we signed up with a service called Olark. Some of you may be familiar with this. And what that meant was that any time that someone visited our first version of our product, there was a little strip on the bottom that said, click here to chat with a human. Now, you can guess that the most common question that people ask in this live chat system is, are you really a human? And actually, we were. It was me and my co-founder, Steve, that were sitting there and answering people's questions all day long. And we learned a lot of stuff from this, stuff that I am positive we would not have learned if people had to email us instead. People would ask us very simple questions like, how do I do a one-way search? And after enough people asked us that question, it taught us, well, actually, this product isn't very easy at helping people figure out one-way searches. It wasn't that people sent us an email saying, I can't figure it out. I don't think most people would have bothered to do that. I think they just would have bounced off the site. But the revealed difficulty in their questions proved to be extremely valuable in working on iterations of the product. We also learned a lot of things that people liked about the site, things that we really didn't expect. We rolled out a feature that was almost a throwaway for us. It was the ability for you to see which flights had Wi-Fi with a big Wi-Fi logo on the little bar. Well, okay, we thought that was cool. That's why we built it. And we put a lot of effort into the design because that's part of our core brand proposition. But we figured that a few people would notice it and the rest would sort of ignore it and nothing would happen. Well, as it turned out, the feedback we got immediately was that people loved this feature. They were so glad that we'd introduced it, they just told all their friends about the site. Just a little Wi-Fi bar. I mean, this is nothing that you couldn't find on our competitors' sites. We just made it bigger and whiter and shinier, and yet people loved it. So we thought, well, okay, if this is really that important to people, we should reorganize our entire mobile prioritization to make sure this is feature number one on mobile. And lo and behold, it drove tens of thousands of new downloads just to have that in the release notes. That was one really cool thing that we learned from it. We also learned that people really liked the basic layout, which was a big question for us. When we rolled out our first version of our product, we were perfectly willing to find out that people actually didn't like it, that they thought the design was too confusing or too sort of cerebral, and that we'd move to something else, but as it turned out, people liked it quite a bit. But in going through all these iterations, we also learned some things that people really didn't like, and these saved us months and months of development effort from what we would have done if we'd just gone off of our own intuitions. We rolled out a new version of our hotel product recently, and while we were triaging coming up to the launch, one of the things that we said was, well, what if we only show people a set of the hotel results? We don't show them all 200 or something. We'll just show them a reduced set. We thought most people wouldn't notice or care, but the minute that we launched the feature, people came onto our live chat system and told us how much they despised it, so we flipped that back pretty quickly. Again, we didn't think it was going to be a big deal. We were actually pretty convinced that, yeah, eventually we'll fix this feature and, maybe it'll change the conversion by a couple %, but this isn't going to be something that makes or breaks the site. Lo and behold, it does. The last thing I'll say about live chat is this. It's important that it be people in your company who man the chat, who have direct contact and communication with the people who can actually change the product. What we like to do at Hipmunk is we'd like to have people do rotations on the live chat system, where some days the engineers themselves will be on listening to what consumers are talking about, and some days we'll have the full-time customer support people who are there. But the customer support people sit right next to the engineers. So if something breaks or if there's a problem or something that people really love, there's a high bandwidth connection between them and the engineers who can change it. So I know it seems crazy to think that just that little blue bar on the bottom of Hipmunk has done so much for our company. But I guarantee you that if we hadn't had it there, we would still be screwing up a whole bunch of stuff and we wouldn't have done any of the really good stuff that people really loved since. Thanks very much.